Hari Hari. So we are on the second verse of chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Sanjaya said, Sanjaya being the secretary of King Dhritarashtra, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. In the upcoming verses, we're going to see the dynamic between Duryodhana and his guru, Dronacharya. This dynamic, this relationship between Duryodhana and his teacher, Dronacharya, is very instructive in how we ourselves come to spirituality, how we ourselves attempt to mature, progress, grow in our personal and spiritual development. Duryodhana is an unqualified disciple. And despite the fact that he's going to his guru, Dronacharya, we will see in the coming verses how he comes to Dronacharya, the mood in which he comes to Dronacharya. But those of us who know the story of the Mahabharata, this is no surprise that Duryodhana comes to his guru, Dronacharya, in such a condescending, insulting, and offensive manner. But the fact that Duryodhana is an unqualified guru is only one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is whether or not the guru is a qualified acharya. This is also very important. However, relationship you have, on the one hand, a qualified or unqualified disciple and a qualified or unqualified guru. Of these two dynamics, one of them is most important. Unfortunately, what is often perceived as the most important of these two dynamics is weighted on the side of the guru. The guru is always described or required, if you will, to be the qualified one. And there's no doubt that it's absolutely, as much as one can understand or can be possible, that the guru be qualified. Otherwise, guru na sasyat svajano na sasyat. The guru should not take up. In fact, no individual should take up a leadership role or responsibility of others if they are not qualified. So this is not to diminish as to whether or not a guru should be qualified. Absolutely, gurus must be qualified. Any person in a position of leadership over others should be qualified. This is no less for a guru. But of these two, qualified guru or qualified disciple, it is actually more important that the disciple be qualified. If the disciple is qualified, then both the disciple and the guru are benefited. If the disciple is not qualified, the disciple is not benefited. Quite the contrary, the disciple begins to make aparads to the guru, which causes further regression in the disciple's spiritual development. Nor is it beneficial to the guru if the guru chooses to remain in that relationship, because then the guru will simply drag down into the karmic cycle of the disciple. So it is far more important that the disciple be qualified. There's a wonderful story in the Puranas of Bali Maharaj. Some you may know, and for those of you who don't, I will summarize very quickly. Bali Maharaj was a demon king, and he had a guru, Shukracharya. And his guru was a qualified guru in the sense that Shukracharya had great yogic power, was able to manipulate the elements, was able to manipulate material nature in so many ways to the benefit of Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj, the king of the demons, he was engaged in this ceremony under the direction of his guru, Sukracharya. And they were engaged in this ritual, excuse me, to make Bali Maharaj the most powerful being in the universe, even over the demigods of heaven. When the demigods got wind of Bali Maharaj and his guru engaged in this ceremony to overthrow them, they went to Vishnu for shelter. Vishnu appeared in the form of a Brahmin boy. And he went to where Bali Maharaj and his guru were having this ceremony. And the tradition is for when the Brahmin, when the mendicant comes, particularly at a time of a ceremony, a Vedic ceremony, then the individual performing the ceremony should give in charity to the Brahmana, particularly at such an important time. So Vishnu came in the form of a Brahmana, and he asked Bali Maharaj for charity. And Bali Maharaj said, very well, what would you like? And the Brahmin boy, Vishnu, in the form of a Brahmin boy, said, I would like 3 steps of land. So Bali Maharaj says, is that all you want? You don't want, I'm the king of the demons. I can give you whatever you want in all the 3 worlds. Vishnu, in the form of a Brahmin, said, no, just give me 3 steps of land. And Bali Maharaj said, very well. So he was going to get the preparations to give this 3 steps of land. The process is by using water, and using water. Water is the witness of offering 3 steps of land. It's indicated that it's similar as writing a signed contract when you have one of the elements as a witness to this transaction. So Bali Maharaj was going to get the purified, sanctified water to be as a witness to this giving of charity. But Shukracharya, Bali Maharaj's guru, recognized that this Brahmin boy was Lord Vishnu in disguise, and he was coming to rob Bali Maharaj of everything. So Shukracharya called Bali Maharaj, his disciple, called him over, whispered in his ear, this is Vishnu. Do not give Vishnu these 3 steps of land he's asking for. If you give him these 3 steps of land, if you grant him this charity, he will take away everything you have worked so hard to achieve. Bali Maharaj showed respect to his guru. He saw the little Brahmin boy smiling charmingly to me. Then I am benefited because it's Lord Vishnu. Whatever Lord Vishnu does is for the benefit of all involved. And if it is not Lord Vishnu, then I gain the punya, I gain the pious result, the pious karmic result of having given charity to a Brahmana. So either way, I am benefited because this is Vishnu. And he disobeyed the instructions of his guru. His guru told him, do not give in charity. Bali Maharaj disobeyed. He gave the 3 steps of land in charity, and as the story goes, Vishnu grew and assumed his form. And with 1 step, he covered the entire earthly kingdom of Bali Maharaj. With the 2nd step, he covered the entire cosmos. There was nowhere else in the universe for him to place his 3rd step. So Vamanade Vishnu, in the form of this Brahmin, he looks to Bali Maharaj, who by this time is a little speck, and he says, where is my 3rd step? You promised me 3. I've only taken 2, and I've covered everything that you have, everything within your jurisdiction. Where do I place my 3rd step? And Bali Maharaj says, recognizing obviously this is Vishnu, he says, place your 3rd step on my head. So Vishnu did this. He placed his third step on Bali Maharaj's head and pushed him into the nether regions of the universe. However, in that blessing of Bali Maharaj was benefited. Lord Vishnu pushed him into the nether regions, but the nether regions became even more opulent than the heavenly kingdoms that Bali Maharaj was trying to conquer from Indra, the king of heaven. So the subterranean, they call the subterranean heavenly planets, where Bali Maharaj resides, is more opulent, more glorious than the heavenly planets of King Indra, because Bali Maharaj was blessed by Vishnu. In fact, Lord Vishnu agreed after this episode, having been won over by the love of Bali Maharaj, agreed to become Bali Maharaj's doorman. Lord Vishnu became Bali Maharaj's doorman, his gatekeeper. We see Lord Vishnu do this time and time again, becoming these so-called servants, taking the role of servant of his devotees in bhakti. And Arjuna, we know from the Bhagavad Gita, becomes Arjuna's chauffeur. Sorry, Krishna becomes Arjuna's chauffeur. In the story of Bali Maharaj, Vishnu becomes the gatekeeper, the doorman of Bali Maharaj. That's an aside. Bali Maharaj was a qualified disciple. Shukracharya was an unqualified guru because Shukracharya could not understand the power of Lord Vishnu. The responsibility of the guru is to liberate the disciple from samsara. Guru and associate, svajana and associate. That's the responsibility of the guru. Here, Vishnu has arrived. Shukracharya could not recognize, or he recognized it was Vishnu, but he was unqualified to instruct Bali Maharaj because he could not give Bali Maharaj the instruction that surrender to Vishnu. If you surrender to Vishnu, you will achieve moksha. So because Shukracharya could not do this, he was an unqualified guru. However, Bali Maharaj was a qualified disciple. He was able to recognize that if this is Vishnu, then if Vishnu is coming to take away all my worldly possessions, it's Vishnu. Anything that Vishnu touches is automatically benefited and liberated. So because Bali Maharaj was a qualified disciple, he was ultimately benefited. Here we see the dynamic between Duryodhana and Dronacharya. Duryodhana is an unqualified disciple. And even though Dronacharya, I don't want to describe Dronacharya as an unqualified guru, but Dronacharya was certainly compromised. And he was compromised, and I'll go a little bit into that story. I don't want to go too far off. But Dronacharya, the guru, was compromised in the sense that he had desires of revenge against his childhood friend, Drupada. When Dronacharya and Drupada were in Gurukula as children, they were best friends. And Drupada, who was a king, he was a prince, he promised Dronacharya, who was a Brahmin, he says, when I grow up, I will give you half my kingdom. This young boy, as prince, was saying this to Dronacharya. They grew up. Dronacharya was a Brahmin, was extraordinarily poor. He was unable to even afford milk to give to his son. So in this state of poverty, Dronacharya, with his young son and his wife, went to his childhood friend, Drupada. Now, Drupada is now the king. He inherited the king from his father. He is now the king. Dronacharya went to King Drupada and says, remember, we were in Gurukula as students. You said you would give me half the kingdom. And in this moment, Dronacharya was joking. He was not expecting, he was not really asking for half the kingdom. But he was trying to invoke the childhood memories that they had shared in Gurukula. Drupada was offended and denied they ever had a relationship and humiliated Dronacharya by saying, how can you and I possibly be friends? You're very poor, you're poverty-stricken, I am a king. We could not possibly have been best friends. And what are you coming to claim, making stake on half of my kingdom? Go back to the village where you came from. Dronacharya was humiliated. This happened in open court for everyone to see. With this humiliation, he plotted revenge against Drupada. He went to Duryodhana's family, the Kaurava family. He became their guru, their martial teacher, and his payment for becoming their martial teacher was to capture Drupada, Drupada to him, and then Dronacharya took half of the kingdom, forcibly took half of the kingdom from Drupada as his own. So Dronacharya was compromised. He had this unfortunate, vengeful streak within him, so he was compromised. However, Dronacharya did attempt in many ways to give good advice to Duryodhana throughout Duryodhana's life. So in that way, Dronacharya he tried to guide Duryodhana, but he was compromised because he can never walk away. He can never realize that this individual, Duryodhana, is an unqualified disciple. So no matter what I say, no matter what instructions I give, he will never walk the path of dharma. So I must leave. He could not do that. He was felt too, for whatever reason, well, because of his feeling of indebtedness that Duryodhana and the Kaurava family had gotten him the revenge that he wanted, whatever the case may be. The issue is that Duryodhana was an unqualified disciple. A few days before this incident we're reading about in the Bhagavad Gita, a few weeks before, when everything was leading up to this great war, Krishna went and tried to strike a last-ditch peace agreement between the Pandavas and the Kauravas, between Duryodhana and the Pandavas. So when Krishna came there to the court of Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, and he offered this peace agreement, he says, just give the Pandavas 5 villages. You've stolen their kingdom. Forget about the kingdom. You keep the kingdom. Give them 5 villages for the 5 brothers to rule. That's all. They're Kshatriyas. They have this Kshatriya bhav. They need to have this leadership dharma. Their Swadharma is Kshatriya dharma. So give them this so that they can properly fulfill their swabhav. Duryodhana said, I will not give them enough land in which to draw the head of a pin. This is how evil and crooked Duryodhana was. So Krishna said, okay, if that's your last word, then there's no other alternative but war. Duryodhana says, yes, now get out. So Krishna turned around and he began to leave. Duryodhana then called his bodyguard. He says, capture this Krishna. Imprison this Krishna. Now, according to the rules of war, when someone comes with a peace offering, that person is a messenger of the king. He's not to be accosted, arrested. But Duryodhana, being the person he was an attempted murderer. He had assaulted the Pandava's wife. So this little issue of capturing and arresting a peace messenger was for him nothing. So the bodyguard tried to arrest Krishna. And Krishna revealed or manifested his universal form, Virat Rupa. Everyone was taken aback in seeing the Virat Rupa, which is described in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The Virat Rupa, the supreme form of the Lord in this material world. They were taken aback by seeing this form. Everyone except for a few morons and Duryodhana. Faced with a manifestation of the Virat Rupa, rather than recognizing that Krishna is the supreme, he said, this is Krishna doing some magic tricks. So even when he was confronted directly with the manifestation of the supreme, he still could not recognize. This shows the lack of qualification of Duryodhana as an individual. So getting back to the issue at hand, if you have a qualified guru and a qualified disciple, that is the rarest combination in the world. Qualified guru, qualified disciple. Extraordinarily rare. Very, very rare. An example of this, of such a relationship, is Dasharat and Vashishta. I won't go into that story, it's in the Ramayana, but that is one of the many examples of a qualified guru and a qualified disciple. Vashishta being the guru and Dasharat being the disciple and following the instructions of Vashishta Muni, even when those instructions broke his heart as a parent. He followed the instructions of his guru, and his guru was able to lead and instruct Dasharat along the path of Dharma. Another example is the Pandavas themselves as qualified disciples and their guru, Dhaumya Rishi. They were able to always follow the instructions, ask for the guidance, and follow the instructions of Dhaumya to walk and navigate the path of Dharma in everything that they did in their life. So when you have a qualified guru and a qualified disciple, it is a match made in heaven, and everyone, both guru, disciple, and everyone involved comes in contact with that relationship, in the vicinity of that relationship, everyone is benefited. When you have a qualified disciple, but the guru is unqualified, still, like the story of Bali Maharaj, still, the disciple can even still benefit the guru because the disciple is qualified. However, the worst combination is when you have a qualified guru and an unqualified disciple. That's actually the worst combination, especially if the guru cannot renounce the disciple. Because an unqualified disciple, and we see this in this relationship between Duryodhana and Dronacharya, an unqualified disciple will drag everyone down into samsara. And everyone is destroyed when you have an unqualified disciple. Even if the guru is qualified, the guru can be dragged down into the karmic cycle of the disciple. If you have an unqualified disciple and an unqualified guru, at least in that dynamic, no one is harmed. They're both unqualified. They're both going to remain where they are. But when you have an unqualified disciple and a qualified guru, that individual can drag everyone down back into samsara. So now the question is, what makes a qualified disciple and what makes a qualified guru? A qualified disciple is simply this: one who is interested in moksha. That's all. A qualified disciple doesn't have to be, and that's the nature of being a disciple. A qualified disciple simply means they have a desire for moksha, for freedom from lust, anger, greed, delusion, arrogance, and envy, the Adishadvargas. They want deliverance from the Adishadvargas. They want deliverance from samsara. As long as that desire is there, that is a qualified disciple. A qualified guru is one who recognizes that the responsibility that he or she has is to deliver the disciple from samsara. If the guru recognizes they have that responsibility, that is a qualified guru. There's more to it than that. At least that's the beginning of a qualified guru. Because if there's honesty in that regard, the guru can honestly assess whether or not they can help an individual be liberated from samsara. If a guru is not interested, does not take responsibility for elevating the disciple to samsara, that guru will not take up the responsibility of guruship, for lack of a better phrase. So qualified guru is one who knows, I am responsible for this individual to achieve liberation from samsara. And the disciple has to desire that as well. If the disciple does not desire liberation from samsara, what's the purpose of the relationship? That is an unqualified disciple. Bali Maharaj was the king of the demons. Of course, Bali Maharaj was also the grandson of a great, great bhakti yogi, Prahlad Maharaj. So he had that going for him. But he was also the king of the demons. He was also engaged in all types of warfare to try to usurp the heavenly planets from King Indra. But he did understand one very important thing which made him a qualified disciple. That is, he understood the importance of being free from samsara. So that when the opportunity came for him to get that freedom, even when his guru tried to dissuade him from that, he rejected the guru and put his head under the feet of Vishnu. That's what made him a qualified disciple. Duryodhana, on the other hand, has no desire whatsoever in being freed from samsara. None. That's why he was never able to take up the good instructions given by Dronacharya. Even though Dronacharya himself was compromised, he was still unable to take up the instructions of Dronacharya. Duryodhana's uncle was Vyasadeva, the incarnation of the Supreme who came to compile the Vedas. That was Duryodhana's uncle. Numerous times, Vyasadeva tried to instruct Duryodhana on the right path. But because Duryodhana had no interest in liberation from samsara, he was an unqualified disciple and can take no instructions from the most qualified guru on the face of the planet, Vyasadeva, who was his uncle. So in our own spiritual development, it behooves us to understand that for us to be qualified disciples, we have to want liberation from samsara. That is what makes us qualified disciples. And with that qualification, whatever guru may come, whatever guru we may have the good fortune to meet, we will be able to, even if the guru is unqualified to whatever extent, because we are sincere in our desire for freedom from samsara, that whatever little beneficial instructions that are given to us from such an unqualified guru, if that instruction leads to our ultimate liberation, we're able to accept it. And I will end on this final story. It's the story of the Avanti Brahmana, who went on a pilgrimage to attain enlightenment. I am abbreviating the story. And he left the ashram and he went on this pilgrimage. When he returned to the ashram, the members of the ashram said, well, who did you meet? What did you learn? Have you achieved enlightenment? And the Avanti Brahmana, Avanti is a place, a geographical location. The Brahmana said, I have met 26 gurus, and each of these gurus have given me a piece of the puzzle towards enlightenment. 26 gurus, please share. Who were these gurus? What magical, what wonderful, what transcendental teachings did they give you? What discourses did you hear from these 26 gurus? And the Avanti Brahmana began to list the gurus. A river was one guru. A bumblebee was another guru. A cobbler, I believe, was another guru. A prostitute was another guru. A tree was another guru. And from each of these 26 different gurus, he named 26, I don't remember them all. From each of these 26 gurus, he explained the lesson he learned from these gurus. Now, one can easily say that none of these gurus, river, a bumblebee, a tree, a prostitute, a cobbler, they're not qualified gurus. In what way are these qualified gurus? No, the Brahmin was a qualified disciple because the Brahmin had the desire to achieve moksha and was therefore able to see a bumblebee, a prostitute, a shoe salesman, a river, a tree, and from these different individuals receive instructions, imbibe teachings that led to his enlightenment. So the key question we must ask ourselves is, are we qualified disciples? Are we interested in liberation from samsara? That's the number one, that is the only question that matters in our pursuit of personal spiritual development. Are we interested in freedom from samsara? Yes or no? Hari Hari.